career coaches, they can go in and monitor how many hours those individuals are putting in each week. They can also be a time card approver as well. And basically what you do is you're doing checks and balances here, okay? You're making sure that they're not putting in their time incorrectly, that they're accidentally putting in overtime, something along those lines. Kind of gives you leeway. And also, everybody's on board that we're maxed out 32 hours per week, is that correct? Okay. The reason why that is because if you have participants working up to 40, I guarantee you somebody's going to work overtime. You know, when you're out in the field and you're talking to work sites and you're explaining the program to them, you may be talking to an HR person or an owner or director or manager, but they may not communicate no overtime is allowed to that supervisor, you know, that's directly over that employee. So what we do is we came up with an idea just to max out those hours of 32 per week in order to make sure that overtime isn't worked. But just to let you know, on the placement form, there is a section for doing background screenings or drug tests. That's not something the CIRIS requires or the state. That's going to be on the worksite, okay? And the only thing that I ask y'all is to make sure that they adhere to what their company policy is as far as screenings are concerned. We don't want them checking the boxes, you know, for everything that we have on the list, because that costs money. And if it's not necessary on their end, we don't want to do that, right? So if they require a national background check and say a 5-panel drug screen, make sure that is what they do for their own employees in order to make sure we're on board with that. So we do that. We use a third-party provider that actually does background checks. We can do employment verification. We can do a social security trace, federal trace. There's a whole list of items that we can do for background screenings. But as far as the drug tests, we're not a brick and mortar where they can just walk into the office and, you know, take a drug screen. So what we do is we partner nationally with a clinic like MedCore, right? Have y'all heard of MedCore? I'm not sure if you have or not, but essentially, you know, it's a big organization. It's national where people can go do drug screens. They have all different varieties and kinds that they are able to do. And essentially what we do is we have the employee put in their address, and it's going to find closest MedCore or affiliate clinic closest to their house. So that way they're not driving an hour to go take the drug screen. So that's how that's done. Once that's done, we get results back within about 48 hours, okay? And in the meantime, the whole process, we are doing the onboarding for that individual in the meantime. Like I said before, we utilize software called Aviante. This is a picture right here of what the timesheets look like, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a few minutes. But those participants are going to be able to have 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 access to their employee profile. As part of their onboarding, they get a choice whether they want to have W-2s mailed the next year, the following year, or they can always opt into getting it digitally. By doing that, they're able to, as soon as they come out, bam, download it, print it out, they got their W-2. Otherwise, it's going to be mailed out to them. They can submit their timesheets on a daily basis. They can do it all together weekly, okay? And then timesheet approvers are notified. Y'all are going to be sent an email saying John Doe submitted her time card, or his time card. Scott Hoaxhard submitted his time card. Individually, it'll do that. You'll have an option to go in and approve off that email if you want to, if those hours look right. But also, you're going to have your own login to Aviante and be able to pull up that individual and check out that timesheet that they submitted and make sure those hours are correct before approving it. If they're not correct, you can reject that timesheet. Write a little note saying, hey, you were wrong on Wednesday. Go back and correct it. It'll get bounced back over to them. They log back in, they correct the timesheet, they resubmit it, then you can approve it, and it gets sent off to payroll for processing. And guys, those of you that are remote, please feel free to pop in, raise your hand, ask questions, because I'm all over the place.
Okay, put it in the chat. I'm watching the chat too.
Okay, so just
everybody, put your name and where you're from in the chat so I can get you signed in. I signed in sheet.
Why are y'all using us? Essentially, there's a lot of reasons. Being the employer of record, when we cover workers' compensation, that's a pretty big deal. That way it doesn't have to be on the state. Also, we have prospective clients who aren't clients yet, who become clients, that have their case managers not only qualifying participants, but on work sites, but they're also chasing down timesheets every single week. And when you've got several hundred people that are working or whatever, you know, that's a lot of time where you could be doing other things. And so essentially it really reduces the burden on the administrative side of things, you know, as far as that. We do process payroll on a weekly basis, okay? And our payroll weeks run from Mondays through Sundays. I'm going to go in a little bit more detail in a few minutes about the deadlines for timesheet submittals and the deadlines for time card approvals, as well as which day payroll is processed and when paydays are. Okay, we'll go over that in a second. We do partner with ADP for the weekly remittance of federal, state, and local taxes. Again, they have 24 access. They can get into Aviante and change their tax forms if they want to do that. They can update their IDs in case, say, their license expires and they go and renew. You know, they can upload that ID to make sure they're compliant on that. Any questions so far? We're about to get in the nitty-gritty of payroll. Okay. This is an example of the placement form. Does everybody have that in front of you? Okay. We do have some really good news. If you notice on this placement form right here, kind of in the first section, there's an area for date of birth and there's an area for social security number. Maybe this is an old one.
Yeah.
Well, our latest one, Aviante made us put in a social security number and date of birth for us before we could even send out the onboarding documents, okay? And luckily Aviante went in there and did that because, you know, we had to worry about being secure and blah, blah, blah. Make sure compliance issues and all that stuff is done correctly. Luckily they made it to where the employee can go in and do that themselves. So essentially we don't need the date of birth anymore. We don't need the social security number anymore. The participants are going to be putting that in when they create their employee profile into Aviante. But essentially the way it works is this is the first step of the process. Once you get a participant processed on your end and you find a work site to bring them over to go work at, you're going to fill this out. This is a PDF. You can type all this out. We prefer that you do that. Please don't handwrite it. I can attest that I've seen some pretty bad ones, and I've got probably the worst handwriting on the planet. So we want to make sure that we will be able to read this. But the first section here is going to talk about the employee information. So basically their name, their home address, emergency contacts. The second section, it's not showing here on this screen or this page, but there's a drop-down box here. So for background screening, it's going to ask you for national or federal, social security trace, employment verification, education verification. You can check any one of those that you want to. Over here for the drug screening section is another drop-down box, and it's either going to give you two options, either a 5-panel drug screen or a 10-panel drug screen. 5 panels, if you got to do a drug screen, that is the most common. 10 panels, a lot more in depth, and that's typically used for kind of heavy in manufacturing. So if you do come across a work site that's, you know, some mom and pop shop, you know, making sandwiches and has for 10-panel drug screen, I mean, you know, it really needs to line up to what what that work site's internal policies are for drug screens. The next section, you're going to have the job title. Do ask that you try to get as descriptive on the job title as possible, right? Sometimes you'll come across general labor. General labor can mean anything. That can mean digging ditches to getting up on a roof. It can literally mean anything. So, you know, we do ask for a job description when you send this over. But we also ask that the job title kind of reflects what exactly they're doing. prep cook, they're prep cook. If they're sandwich maker, sandwich maker. If they're administrative assistant, they're admin assistant, so on and so forth. So that's where you're going to put the job title, time reports of work, and then the pay rate. How much are we going to be paying those employees an hour? Okay. Next section is going to have the name of the work site. Bless you, Joel. Then you're also going to have the work site address. Supervisor, we took that out. It's not needed. Next two sections are really important. You've got a timesheet approver number 1, timesheet approver number 2. Guys, it's really important that we have at least two people, okay, that are time card approvers, because the most important thing that we want to do is get these participants paid, all right? Second thing is in many cases, people get sick or they go on vacation, you have a wedding to go to, whatever the case is, they're not in the office to approve this timesheet. So we do ask that a secondary person is assigned at least 2. So that way we can make sure those timesheets get approved, right? Regardless if somebody's out or not. I think for the way we have Commerce set up is
Your case, you will be the first time approver, and then your supervisor will be your backup.
okay.
Not the work site. We've had too much trouble with them just not paying attention and just getting email and approving it. And once it's approved, it's hard to unapprove them. So you're going to be the first one. We have a timesheet, a supervisor timesheet little file in Staff Online Resources that you can use to send to the supervisor just so they can confirm at the work site. But it'll be you that will be approving their time card.
So for the BSRs in Area 5, how would that work?
Who's
Look at me, no.
You want me to explain?
Please.
Because we do this every day, that's why. So essentially the way it works is, you have, case manager is the primary approver and the secondary will be the manager, right, the manager. Okay, essentially the way it works is this. You want to set up a date and a time before that work site is going to scan a copy of their own internal timesheet and send it over to you. Okay, so when you get that timesheet, you can log into Aviante and pull that individual up and make sure that time matches. And then you can just click approve at that point.
So the reason why I was asking, because with Area 5, they have the BSRs doing it in school youth, but we don't have the supervisor. We just have manager.
What about, Terry, would this be okay if Lavondra was the backup? Was the signature too? Because she don't have anything to do.
She already
I've been
Y'all, let me tell you something. Lavondra was one of the best in the entire state of Alabama when she
All
was
your
a pro
questions
center.
can go to Lavondra. I can give you her email.
She is a pro and she's my buddy too, so she knows how to process
I
it.
mean, yeah, we have had to, in Area 5, call on, thank goodness we have good BSRs, to help with some of the in-school youth, because the majority of our youth programs are out of school. So that was the best recourse to take, is to ask them to help with work-based learning.
So if you can get the actual worksite supervisor, have it on their schedule, no later than Sunday or Monday morning at 10 a.m. or whatever the case is. Get those timesheets over to you. You log in Aviante, pull that individual up, make sure that timesheet is accurate for what they submit in Aviante, and then you can go ahead and approve it. If it's not correct, then you click the reject button, type a little note, hey, you're wrong on Wednesday, go back and correct it, and then they can do it that way. That's how we have the process set up. Because Jess is absolutely correct. So what was happening is, originally I think we had a worksite supervisor as the main approver. And so when they get that email notification, it's separate from logging into Aviante. It's just an email that comes to you. It says, Scott Hotard submitted 40 hours. Okay, cool, bam. They just hit accept and approve. They're not actually looking at the timesheet. They don't care. They just hit it. So what happens is when the invoices come out, you know, and y'all see where the case managers as the secondary, and they're looking, whoa, this time is incorrect, but it's already been approved, right? We can't have that happen over and over and over. So we wind up changing to where the case managers are the approvers, and you know, they're ultimately responsible for approving that time, making sure it's correct. It's a safety net, guys. It's a safety net to make sure no overtime is worked and those timesheets are correct, and that you know, helps you keep track of the maximum number of hours for the program. So it's 320, right?
390.
That's right, 390. So you're able to go into Aviante each week, and literally each person that's under you, you can have your spreadsheet and keep a total tally week by week. You just keep adding hours, and when they get up to their full 390, you know, you let us know whenever the assignment is complete. Let us know what that last day they worked was, and then we'll close them out. Okay. Any questions on the virtual end? No. Okay. So, time card approver is taken care of. This section right here where it says funding source. This is Region 5, right?
No, this is one, and it's a little bit of everything.
Okay. Are they only going to do work-based learning?
No, they're all youth providers, so they do all youth things.
Right, but it's, you know how we have it set up. We got work-based learning region 1, 2, work-based learning
We have
region 3.
Region 1, Region 4, Region 5 right now.
Well, I just want to make sure they're not doing Quest Grant or.
No.
Okay.
This is just work-based.
Strict work,
Yeah.
WBL.
This is just for this, yeah.
Okay. So, whatever region number you are, you're going to type WBL, okay, under the funding source information, under client information, WBL region whatever. So that tells us, because we have all of the work-based learning regions divided up under that one grant. So that tells us where to create that job ad. Say if you're region 4, WBL region 4, we create that job order to WBL region 4, and when the invoices come out, it's going to reflect that everybody working under WBL region 4 is going to be under that invoice. So just to make sure that participant is assigned to the correct department and making sure Tracy's life is easy, right? Yeah. Okay. And there's also going to be a little section that one of my coworkers is actually going to be adding the state ID number. Are they familiar with the state ID number? Okay, how it works with Alabama Works or whatever?
I don't think they're gonna say it, but they'll all know the state ID. If you don't email me, and we will go back in. But yes, that's what they're supposed to use
Okay.
always with us.
By the way, you don't have to, you can put under the funding source, OSY, out of school youth, or in school youth, ISY. That doesn't do anything for us, but I know it does help.
Our accounting was gonna.
Yes.
Yes. So make sure you put if it's an in-school youth or an out-of-school youth.
Under, yeah, right. Because you do that too under Alabama Works, right?
Yes. So that state ID number slot's gonna be on this front page?
Yes, this is, they're gonna.
So what we're looking at looks so different than that.
Yeah, that's the older ones. It looks.
It does. It absolutely is. You know, I can escape and pull that version up with you right now if you want to do that. Stop sharing on this. Let me downsize this guy. Stop sharing that. And then let me pull up me. And this guy. Okay, yeah, this is what you're seeing now, okay? So essentially, it's got the same information, right? This has got a point that I wanted to bring up. I'm glad I did pull this up. So, the state of Alabama, if anybody's under 18, is going to require a child labor certificate. The work site is, not serious, but the work site, okay? So they can have somebody over there working that's under 18. Mississippi's different. Where I live at, I think it's only about 5 or 6 different industries that they actually need a certificate, otherwise they don't. But if you're going to have anybody under 18, yeah, you know, they're going to need a child work permit, child labor certificate. And we would like a copy of that just for our records to make sure that the worksite is compliant for that. So, you know, if you can get a copy of that and shoot that over along with the placement form, that'd be awesome. We did, you know, change from whatever I just showed you to this version right here. We just kind of changed it up a little bit. Client name is actually going to say ADOC, Alabama Department of Commerce here. So you're not even going to have to change that. It's already going to be on there for you. The grant or funding source, again, going back to that, is WBL region number. That's all you need. Or you can do OSY.
Area 1 in school year.
In school year.
Area 5 in school year.
Invoice submitted to, we know who that needs to go to, so you don't even need to put that if you don't want to. Sometimes with our other clients that changes, depending on the grant source, so with you it doesn't, so you don't even need to worry about filling that out. We do like to know how many weekly hours they can work, so that's always going to be 32, and then the total hours they can work is 390. So what's great is you can populate that and then save it. So that's never going to change. 32 hours a week, max 390 total for the grant, for the internship. And then you, the case manager, just helps us keep track. Should we have any questions as a participant, we know who to reach out to assist us. For example, whenever you send out this placement form, the first thing the onboarding team is going to do is they're going to text that employee, okay? Because kids do not answer the phone with numbers they don't recognize. So we're going to text them, they're going to introduce themselves, who they're with, I'll be your onboarding person. I'm going to be calling you and walking you through the process of your onboarding. And so they send out the text first, and so on and so forth. So if that individual doesn't reply back or doesn't answer the phone, and let's say a day or two goes by, and each day they're trying that individual and they're just not connecting with them, they can always go back, pull this placement form up, see who it was that submitted it. So use the case manager. They're going to email you and say, hey, I'm having trouble getting with Scott. So can you reach out to Scott and tell him to call me? See what I'm saying? So that's how that works. This form here, what we've done is we've combined a couple of different things, and then we've added just trial and error, and we try to make it streamlined and efficient. So this section right here is going to have the job title, okay, administrative assistant. Cool. We do need a job description. So you got a couple ways you can send that over. You can just send it as a separate attachment. 9 times out of 10, the worksite is going to have their HR department that has a pre-written job description per job. Yes, ma'am.
Some of these things sometimes 2, 3, 4 pages. How big?
That's a very good point. They give you a PDF, just attach it, that's fine. If it's literally administrative assistant, so like, you know, answering phones, setting appointments, whatever, you know, if it's a couple sentences or even a situation where they type it out in an email, you can copy and paste and plug it in right here, section right here. So that way you don't even have to add a separate attachment for the job description. If they do give you a 2 or 3 page job description, just send it along with the placement. Don't even worry about putting it in here. Just, you know, it just, I'm a big believer in less work. So, you know, it's perfectly fine for you just to send their job description they've got. In fact, that's perfect. So either way you want to do it, it's up to you. And what we do is whenever we receive one of these forms, we take that job description, we send it off to our insurance company for every single work site somebody's working at. And we give them the job description, job title, the work site name, and then their address. And then we get that job code for that work site. So that's why the job description is very, very important. Next section, you've got the hourly pay, work site name, their website. If they don't have a website, Facebook page is fine. And the insurance company asks us these questions. That's why we're putting this on the placement form. So what kind of business is it? It's a manufacturer of bolts, you know, or it's a sandwich shop, or it's a gym, or it's a, you know, it's a real estate firm or something. You know, keep it easy, keep it small, keep it simple. Address, timesheet approvers, we already went over that. Here's the section where you can, y'all see that now? Drop down box, do employment verification, education, county search, federal search, social security, national. You can click as many of those as you want to. And then on the drug screen section, again, drop down box, 5 or 10 pound. Okay. Safety questionnaire. The way the process has been going, especially with labor type positions, 9 times out of 10, I don't need this, but sometimes the insurance company comes back and asks questions. So that's been happening more and more. And so, what I've been doing is every single client in 7 states, every job order that comes in, I take a look at it, take a look at the job description, see if it needs a safety questionnaire. So what we did is we attached it with the placement form, so I don't have to do that anymore, which is great. But essentially, it's going to be no for everything if it's an office type job. We do ask questions for light industrial positions, and especially skilled trades positions. We need these questions answered, okay? So, for example, we have all the regions, we have a ton of lawn maintenance positions, whether they're doing commercial and residential type work. We don't allow employees to drive their own vehicle, all right? So in a situation like that, my first question to y'all is, okay, are they gonna be expected to drive themselves, or are they gonna ride along with the crew, right? And so that's when you tell me they'll be riding along with the crew. Okay, well this is the first question that this specifically talks about. Is there going to be transportation requirements? We want to say right here, participants are not allowed to drive. Okay, they can group travel. So are they going to be in a van? They're going to be in a work truck. Essentially, the insurance company's asking to make sure it's not 15 people in one vehicle, right? They want to make sure that it's no more than 8 people per van or something. I really do like this question right here. Does everybody know what personal protective equipment is, or PPE? If you don't, that's essentially safety equipment, okay? It's goggles or safety glasses, earplugs, steel-toed boots, gloves, wool gloves, hard hat. So essentially what we're asking, okay, well, what kind of job site is it? What kind of work are they going to be doing? And also who's going to be responsible for providing that PPE. So we do ask that, okay? And we do ask things like, well, I'll go in, there's trenching involved, demolition, there's certain types of industry they're not going to cover. So that's why it kind of goes into some of those things, excavation, things like that. So this asks about transportation. Is there any trenching exposures? Essentially what they're wanting to know is this going to be a 6-foot ditch that somebody's down here that is considered confined space at that point, okay? And can things fall in on you, all right? They're not going to cover that. But if they're say it's a lineman assistant, and what they're doing is they're cutting a trench that's about 4 inches wide and it's 4 inches deep to run cable, that's okay. It's not a big deal. Okay, so that's what that's asking specifically about there. They don't want somebody to get landslided in and killed. Right? Height exposures. That's a great question. Because if we don't know if somebody's going to be working over 6 feet. Are they going to work on a ladder? Are they going to work on scaffolding? Are they going to expect them to go on a roof? Definitely not a roof. Scaffolding, I don't like that idea. We basically can cover somebody up to like 8 feet on a ladder. That's fine. So we do ask that, and then we'll ask the maximum height exposure. I think somebody sent me in I think it was with the state too. I think it was with one of the regions here, and this guy working at it's a boat repair yard, and I'm thinking I got an 18-foot boat. I was thinking one of those. No, those are big ones. And I remember one of the height exposures was like 45 feet in the air. And I'm like, no, no. So we do want to make sure that, that's a great question for you to ask the work site to make sure that they're not going over that 6-8 foot level. Chemical exposure, if they're working in a hospital, if they're doing, janitorial type stuff, whatever. They're doing the janitorial at school. They're working with chemicals. So, we essentially want to know, okay, pneumonia, bleach, whatever. Whatever it is they're working around, and if they are using those, we want to make sure they're using like a dust mask or gloves or, stuff like that. So they don't have any burns to their lungs or their hands and stuff or face. Machinery exposure. Typically, if you're in a plant, you're working around machinery, doing assembly or whatever, QA, QC, working in a warehouse even, a lot of times you're taking the product from final step of whatever that machine is doing to that product, packing it up, put it on a pallet jack, and you're taking it over to the warehouse on a hand truck, and you wrap it up and throw it in the back of the trailer. So, we do want to know if there's any exposure to any type of machinery like that.
So any type?
Yeah.
Machinery can cover a whole.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. So it's like this. I'll give you a great example. If somebody is working over Pfeiffer Wire, Tuscaloosa, and they're an administrative assistant, what they're going to want to know is, are they going on the plant floor for any reason as part of their job? Because those are two different workers' comp codes with two different costs associated with it. So regardless of the position, they want to check and see if there's any exposure to those things where their job would not normally have any exposure to those machines. Make sense? Sorry. Respirators, dust masks, yes or no? Bloodborne pathogens, that's exposure's there working at a doctor's office or a hospital. So, we do ask that they answer that if that's the case. And then finally, PPE. What kind of PPE are they wearing if it's required? And just list it out. That's all they need. Also want to make sure that they're getting the training for that PPE, right? You're a construction site, you're a carpenter helper, you want to make sure you're wearing that hard hat, safety gloves, earplugs, if there's heavy equipment going around all over the place. Steel-toe boots, want to make sure that that employee knows that they're to be wearing those at all times on the job site. And that's it, guys. That is the placement form, okay? Does anybody have any questions on this whatsoever? See your hands on your side? Yes? Oh, I can see them here. Yeah. Before, what we used to do is we'd ask for copies of IDs. Lodge, remember that? We don't require that anymore. It's easy. I know. Don't look at me with a stink eye.
All your hard work.
I know. Well, we've simplified it. So what's going to happen is on the onboarding process, the employee is going to upload pictures of their own IDs. All right. So essentially, the only thing your team is responsible for is sending this placement form over and the job description. That's it, guys. At that point, we pick it up. We pick it up and we start the onboarding process. Now, let me go back to this PowerPoint.
Is the turnaround time on E-Verify still the same if the customer is uploading their information?
The E-Verify is going to be done. The E-Verify is going to be done the day that you tell us what the start date is going to be.
I thought you told us what to start with.
No, that hadn't been like that in about a year and a half.
Well, I'm behind.
That's all good. What am I doing here?
What if they don't actually start
it
on
is
the day
cool.
they were supposed to?
I'm sorry?
If they don't start on the day they were supposed to, will you let you go?
It's a wonderful,
That
that's a
affects
great
our
question.
lives, right?
Because that's going to happen. I promise you that's going to happen. My first suggestion that I would say, Lavandra, what do you tell the work site before you even send somebody to go working out there? What do you tell them? What do you tell them?
Yeah, we think.
Yeah, she wasn't paying attention.
I'll start.
Guys, they have to sign, they have to sign that worksite agreement, and it specifically states they're not to work over 32 hours, and the maximum number of hours is 390, and they are not allowed to work overtime, right? Another thing you want to tell them is very important. Do not let the participant tell you they are all done. Do not trust their word. That has to come through us to you, okay? What was happening is people would talk to the worksite directly, and just like you said, yeah, I'm all done. Okay, cool, start Monday. And then they try to go and submit the time. They can't because they can't. And they're like, okay, well, what do you mean you worked last week? So the thing about E-Verify, guys, is we have a 3-day window in order to do that from when the employee shows up physically to start their first day of work. Okay, so we can potentially backdate it 3 days, but that's it. If it's over that, the worksite's going to have to pay them for that time that they authorize them to work, because otherwise we're not compliant. And if we get audited, we can get fined, and we're not going to do that. So the way the process works now, as soon as you send that placement form over, the onboarding team is going to reach out to those participants. They're going to get the onboarding process started. They're going to make sure that everything is done. All the paperwork's done. Their IDs are uploaded. Their direct deposit information is done, and that's uploaded. Once that's done, we're going to reach out to you and say, Scott Hotard has completed his onboarding. Can you please at that point provide us with a start date? At that point, you'll call the worksite and say, hey, Scott's ready to work. What day do you want? Tuesday. Cool. So you tell us Tuesday, and then at that point, we do the E-Verify for that starting day of Tuesday. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like with the flu going around, Johnny's supposed to start on Monday, but Johnny has flu, can't start the next Monday.
Yeah.
So you wait to do the E-Verify.
Yeah, I mean, we've already gotten the work date at that point. We would like to know the actual date in case we do need to make an adjustment like that. But the main thing, guys, is to make sure that participant hadn't started a week or two before. That's the main thing. If it's in the future, that's no problem. We can change that anytime we want to.
But not before that's supposed to start.
Right. We can go back potentially 3 days maximum. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
If they don't complete the work experience, they don't use all of their hours, how do you handle that?
That's
Is
fine.
that something that they need to do?
No, so what happens, let's say they get terminated, or let's say they quit. At that point, you would notify us that they quit or they got terminated. And what we do is we document that in case they file for unemployment, okay? And then you tell us the last day they worked, and then we close them out. So even if they don't finish the 390, hey, let's just say it's the wrong fit for the work site. And let's just say it's just not working out. But that participant showing up every day and is eager to work, there's nothing stopping you from taking them off that work site and finding them another job somewhere else. So if you can say they worked 100 hours out of the 390 and it just didn't work out, place them somewhere else and let them finish out the rest of the 390. That's good too. So either way, guys, if they quit, if they're terminated, if they completed their internship, we need to know that, and we need to know the last day they worked on payroll so we can close out their assignment. The reason why that's important is because when we have 100 people on payroll and only half of them are working actively, the other ones are completed, let's say, they're still getting emails saying, hey, you need to submit your timesheet if you didn't do this. And then it also kind of bogs down our payroll department. So it's really important. And plus, if they got terminated, but they filed for unemployment, we don't even know better, we're not going to win that mediation meeting with the state. So we want to have that documented that this person quit or got terminated, right? So, and I know unemployment is not something, we owe is not supposed to happen, but it still happens. So we definitely need to do that documented portion of things. Any other questions as far as the placement form and the safety questions, or?
Don't have to use 390 hours, though, right?
Yeah.
You can write it for what?
Yeah. Look, listen, you tell us, their contract states that 32 hours a week, 390, that's it. If they don't work the full 390, fine. Just let us know so we can close out that assignment. So it's not a requirement for us, you know.
But just remember, for work-based learning, it should be for youth that need work experience. If they've already worked several jobs, I mean, you know, this is sort of like getting their foot in the door with a lot of them. But if they have a lot of experience working, then they would need more like an OJT than a work experience.
I was just thinking, because I remember, I never did work based learning, but Kenny was doing it. She didn't write it for 390 because most of them didn't.
Yeah,
And
and,
funds
you
were
know,
low.
right, and that's the maximum. If it's best not to do it for that many, that's fine. You know, we just always say 390 is the max, you know. I mean, you're talking to the person, you know them better than, you know, anyone else. You know, you can get a sense of them, you know, or if you want them to maybe try it out with the work-based learning and then go into an OJT or something, you know, by all means, you know, just do whatever you think is best of that. Is that, yes?
So guys, for those of you virtual, some of the folks were asking, you know, what if they don't work the 390? It's totally fine. One thing Tracy Smith was just talking about, if you couldn't hear, is basically, you know, they don't have to work the 390. They can work the 390. A lot of times these individuals will transition from work-based learning to an OJT or an apprenticeship, right? Apprenticeship too. So, you know, obviously when they go on the payroll of the work site and they get reimbursed whatever percentage of the individual salary. Okay, so the actual onboarding process, how does that work? Well, like I said before, the onboarding coordinator is going to reach out, text that participant, say, I am so-and-so, I'm with Serious Workforce, we're going to be doing your onboarding. They'll call them, and then once we do make contact with the participant, they're going to email them this. And essentially, what this is just a welcome email from Aviante, your name. You're now going to be going through Aviante to start your onboarding process. It's going to give them this link right here that's technically in blue. So they'll click on the link, and once that's done, it's going to take them to a login screen. They're going to use their email address as their username. They'll be given a temporary password. Once they log in, they'll be scripted to put in a permanent password, so they remember that. They'll get another email. Looks like this. So essentially, it says, "Please complete the online, documents below." So they click on that link there. It takes them to Aviante. Again, there's an email right there that has their username and password. Once they log in, they're going to begin the onboarding process. But this is what it looks like. As soon as they get logged in, John Doe, you have, I can't remember, it's so small on my end. Was it 8 tasks up there? 6. So those 6 tasks, you can either go over here to the left and you can personal info. Click on that tab, start putting in your personal information. Next section is going to be the onboarding packet. You can click on that. Or they can go to this button right here, it just says start. That's going to take them to the first tab here. And essentially what happens is, this is what it looks like on the left, right? So we're back over here, they just log in. There's a tab up here that says My Dashboard. This is where they're going to be doing their onboarding packet. And right over here, this tab next to it, it's kind of hard to see, but it says timesheets. I'm going to show you that in a second. This is after they get on board and start working, they're going to click on that tab right there that says timesheets and submit their time that way. But essentially, this is step by step. They're going to go in and click on each individual one and fill everything out. By doing that, in order for them to be able to fill this out virtually, we send them an Adobe Acrobat signature page, and they set up their signature digitally like that. Once they do that, then it's going to prompt them individually one by one. Personal info, workforce packet, W-4, EO, attendance policy. This is where their I-9s are to be done. Uploaded their I-9 form, fill that out, and then also copies of their IDs. W-4, state tax form, all that good stuff, okay? So essentially what happens is once all of this information is filled out, our onboarding person will go in and make sure those IDs are uploaded, direct deposit information is in there. Once all that's done, then we're going to ask you for a start date and do their E-Verify. But that's essentially it as far as onboarding. We've had people get knocked out in 20 minutes. So it's pretty quick if they've got everything. Sometimes they don't. So they may not get back to it for a day or two. So it's going to vary individually, person to person. And it really depends on how quickly that participant is going to get online and they're going to start their onboarding paperwork. Okay, so does everybody here have an office, brick and mortar, right? So if let's say they don't have a computer, they can come to your office, log in, or maybe go to the Career Center. I mean, we've had all the above. So some individuals need some help with this. Our onboarding person will help them with questions on any of this paperwork, tax forms especially. It's their first job. They don't know what a tax form is, you know? They need some help with that. But sometimes they don't have a laptop or a desktop at home. So a lot of times they'll come to you and, you know, we've had case managers walk them through the onboarding process. Sometimes they go to the Career Center, you know, and go do it over there, wherever they have access to a computer. Any questions at all? This, you know, this is basically onboarding documents. I mean, we're pretty much done at that point. Any questions on step-by-step, what it looks like with Aviante when an employee signs in? As soon as you turn in that, submit us that placement form and that job description, just letting you know this is what we do. Our onboarding team reaches out to them, sends them their login credentials for Aviante, and then they start the onboarding process, okay? This section right here is what it looks like for an employee when they go to submit their time. So they're going to log in the exact same place they did when they did their onboarding paperwork. They've already been working. They've worked a full week. Now they're ready to submit their timesheet. So remember what I said before that when they initially logged in, they had that tab up here that said My Dashboard. Remember that? Right, my eyes. At this point, they're going to go over here to the timesheet tab. And that's going to take them to this timesheet manager, and it's going to have their job title there. And the very below, they're going to have the person that was in charge of their onboarding. So they've got their contact information if they have any questions on anything. So they can just give them a call, shoot them an email, whatever. So at this point, they're going to click this View Timesheet tab, this blue button right here, and that's going to pull up the current week for the timesheet. Okay? This is just an old one, July 30th, week ending July 30th, 2023. So at this point, they can populate. They clocked in at 8 a.m. They took lunch at 12. They came back, clocked back in at 1 o'clock, and then they left for the day at 5. So once they do that, once they have the clock in and clock out time in there, it's going to automatically calculate those hours here at the very bottom of that day. So at that point, if they want to put in their time in every single day that they're working, cool. They clock in Monday, they work Monday, they put in their time, and they're going to hit the save button here. Tuesday, they come in. After they work, they put in their timesheet for the day. So they put in their hours, hit the save button. And let's say they work 32 hours that week. Once that's done, and all of their time for 32 hours is entered that week, they're going to click this button right here that says Save and Submit Timesheet. And as soon as they do that, it's going to be sent to y'all. You'll get an email, a separate email notification saying that this person submitted their timesheet. Literally pull it up on your phone or your email. It's going to give you the total number of hours they worked, but it's not going to show you here of the actual timesheet that they submitted. Y'all can see this? So you got an email, talks about Skylar submitted her timesheet. She did it for a total of 40 hours. You have the ability to either approve or reject that timesheet. You just don't have the timesheet pulled up in front of you. You do have to log in to Aviante in order to view that. What does that look like? each of you is going to be getting your own login credentials for Aviante. Obviously, you're not on board, you're not going to become an employee, but you're going to be a timesheet approver, okay? So this is what it looks like. Well, no, that's not what it looks like. What it looks like is, okay, I guess I got that slide hidden. Essentially, it's the same thing. It's another email that gives you the link to Aviante. It's going to have your username as your email address, and it's going to give you a temporary password. Once you click on that link, put your email address, your username, and that temporary password is your password. You log in, and it's going to prompt you to set a permanent password. So once that's done, bam, you have access to everybody. And I can actually show you live what that looks like with current employees working with Alabama Department of Commerce. But essentially, and I will do that in a second, but this is what this essentially looks like. When you pull that timesheet up, you can see that this person clocked in at 8, took lunch break at 12, clocked back in at 1, left at 5:30, and oh gosh, that's so little, I can't read it. So it's 8.6 hours. So it'll calculate, you know, the minutes on that workday as well. And then the same thing here, for a total of 6 hours for 14.5 hours for the week. At this point, you get that copy of that paper timesheet from that worksite supervisor. Yep, 14.5 hours, we're looking good. You can click that button there, it says approved timesheet. If it's not right, click the reject button, a little box will pop up and say, hey, your time was incorrect on Wednesday, go back and correct it, resubmit. Any questions on that actual part of the timesheet approval process? Yes, ma'am.
Not really about the process, but are we supposed to be reaching out to you guys to get our own credentials, or are they gonna go through Commerce?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Who do the work-based learning case managers need to contact you guys to get credentials, or should Commerce be contacting you?
We're going to email those to you individually.
Okay,
You will have your own email, your own login credentials for Aviante.
okay.
So let me, this is it. I have one more thing to share with you, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like as a time card approver, okay? Guys, doesn't happen often, but injuries do happen. We are the employer record, so we're in charge of that, okay? And just to let you know, the way the process works is typically that worksite supervisor doesn't know me from Adam or us from Adam. We give each participant a copy of this, okay? This is what you need to do in case there's an injury. First off, it's life-threatening, bam, ambulance, go. Don't call us, just go. But if it's something like a twisted ankle or cut or whatever, yeah, this is the process. So typically what happens is that worksite supervisor knows you, so they're gonna call you, say that so-and-so injured themselves. At that point, you're gonna reach out to us and let us know. And then we're gonna make contact with that participant. And also, just so you know, as part of the process, this has nothing to do with you, but what we do is we partner with a medical triage service, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Once they call that number from MedCorps, that 800 number, they're going to speak to a medical professional. They're either a licensed nurse or doctor or nurse practitioner. They're going to explain, you know, what they did, how they got injured, what exactly they were doing, where they were working at. Basically, they ask them all the questions to get the report started. And this report is important because that's how the paperwork gets filed to pay those bills. So it's doing two things at once. It's getting the report started for the insurance company. They file all the paperwork for the insurance company, but it also, you know, they can guide them to, okay, you sprained your knee. You feel like you need to get, you know, care at this time. They'll assist them with getting an appointment for a local triage, urgent care or something, urgent care, instead of going to the emergency room, right, and waiting for 12 hours. If it's not life-threatening, they don't need to go to the ER, right? If they, again, they're talking to a medical professional, so if it's not something too severe, they can tell them, okay, maybe self-medication. So maybe you need to go home, take some Tylenol, prop your leg up, and put some ice on that knee, right? And then let us know how you feel after that. So essentially, they are going to be talking to a medical professional and assessing the severity of the injury and assisting them with with going to get medical professional help, but we do the same thing. And just so you know, we talk to the employee, we're there every step of the way. I get copies of the release paperwork, I get copies of their prescriptions, I get light duty notices or return to work notices, and I keep you up to date the entire time. So if so-and-so injured themselves and the doctor put them on, light duty for 3 days, well, I let you know, and we let the work site look, they can only do light duty. Do you offer that? If they don't, then they don't. Yes, ma'am.
Since employers are used to doing their first report injury, in this case, they will not. You will do the first report injury. Sears will do the first report, right?
Yeah, but it's good for their risk team to do theirs as well. Very important that they do that. And every one of your manufacturing facilities are going to do that. They're going to have their own safety and risk team that's going to be right there working with us and doing their own. I've had it to where we've had some guy that was, in a place he wasn't supposed to be at, and he got smashed between two forklifts. Well, there was a labeled walkway where it's safe to walk. No, he wasn't in there. He was literally right in the path of a guy backing out a forklift. He couldn't see him. Bam! I mean, it didn't hurt. I mean, it wasn't that big of an injury, but he was in a place where he shouldn't have been. So that risk department needs to know that. They've actually pulled the camera footage and sent it to me, and we sat down with the employee, case manager also, and look, you're in a place where you weren't supposed to be. You need these markers were safe to walk at are there for a reason. You need to adhere by that, and if you can't, then we're gonna take you off this job. So that's it, guys. I mean, if there was an injury, just let us know. Did you give them the workforce onboarding email address by chance on that place?
It's in the, I don't know if it's on the placement form, but it's in my presentation.
Okay. So yeah, the workforce onboarding at SiriusStaffing.com. That is the email address you're going to be sending emails, where you would send the placement form if you have questions. That goes to Angela and I. Angela is our Vice President of Operations. She also deals with safety and risk like I do, and she is a guru with human resources as well. So any question that you have, I travel a lot, so it's best that you use that email address, and one of us will get to you, and it's usually going to be done really quick, isn't it, Devondra? And then secondly, call me. Call my cell phone. Don't call my direct number. That thing rings twice and then it goes to voice. I hate that direct line. But call my cell. Shoot me a text, because that's my best way of communicating is email, text, and phone. So, number on there? Yeah, it's up at the top. 251-234-7161. And I would like to get yours too, because a lot of times you're out in the field and I need to call you for something. I got Lavondra's.
Yep.
Okay, let me quit sharing this part, and let me show you what it looks like as a time card approver. You know what? Let me show you what it looks like to submit a time card, then approve a time card, and then I'm done. And ask you, any questions that you have. Answer any questions. Whoops. Okay, can we see that now? Yeah. So when I log in, just like any participant, when they log in, it's automatically going to go to the My Dashboard tab at the top. So you say, where do I put my time in? So this next tab here, it says Timesheets. So they'll click on that. It's got my title here, they'll have theirs, and then it's got right here, the View Timesheet button. It's going to pull up to the current week. So I do want to say this. If, let's say a participant missed a week for whatever reason, We just want to make sure they're putting their time in for the correct week that they actually worked. Or let's say they worked 2 weeks ago, but they got sick and had COVID or something for a week after. They didn't get a chance to submit their timesheet. So when they are feeling better and they are ready to put in their time, and let's say it's for 2 weeks ago, they need to come over here because it's automatically going to put them to this week's timesheet. So they'll just come over to this little arrow and click on it 2 weeks, and that takes you back to January 5th, and they can submit their time at that point. But this is what it looks like. They're going to clock in at 8 a.m. They take a lunch break at 12, come back at 1, clock out at 5, and then it calculates the total hours for that week, or for that day. Okay? And so I can do that same thing for Tuesday. 1, 5. Okay, so let's say I only worked Monday and Tuesday of this week. At this point, as the employee, I'm going to hit the Save and Submit button here at the bottom in green. Once that's done, ding, you're going to get an email notification that Scott submitted his time card. You need to go in and approve it. It's going to give you the email that says he submitted 16 hours. That email. So you can't view the timesheet, but it tells you I worked 16 hours, and you can either approve or reject. At that point, if you want to go see the timesheet, then you will log into Aviante, and this is what it looks like. So it's going to log you in. You're going to have the My Dashboard button tab at the top. You too will go to the timesheet tab up here. Under Company, it's going to always say Alabama Department of Commerce. All right. At this point, under Job Status, so if you want to take a quick note of this, if you want to look at all actively assigned employees that are currently working, you can click the Active button. If you want to go back and pull up the time worked for somebody that worked 6 months ago, you want to click the All button. Okay, that's everybody that's ever been assigned to you. That's work-based learning. So anyway, right now we have all of these people actively working throughout the state. Okay, for Alabama Department of Commerce. So what I like to do, and this helps you keep track of their total hours, is whenever you're going up and checking these timesheets for these individuals, I would click the All button under Time Select. And what's cool is that is literally going to bring up every single week since they started. So if you see that first week here, they worked 28 hours. That was approved. Second week, 23.5, 22, 19. This is an active timesheet right here. They're not finished working for the week. But you can see here, they worked a total of 20 hours so far, right? So whenever they get done for the week, they're going to hit that Save and Submit timesheet. And then that gets sent to you. Once you log in, you clock in, you can click this View Timesheet button, and it literally goes day to day that each individual submitted their time. It's got the total number of hours for the week here, and then you can compare that to the timesheet that worksite supervisor scanned and emailed to you to make sure that it's correct. And then down here, we'll have approve or reject option. Any questions on that at all? I forgot my hair gel, so my head is. But that's it, guys. I promise you, and Lavondra can attest to this because how long did you do this for? 3 years?
Well, she'll tell us the truth.
Yeah, but she loves me. I know it should be good.
That is cool.
Guys, you're just gonna notice. So at the very beginning, you're gonna have 1,000 questions. It's okay. Just reach out to Angela. Call me. Shoot me a text anytime. If you need me to walk you through the whenever we send you your login credentials, as soon as we assign that first individual to that job site or that job order, Aviante is going to send you an automatic email. We're not doing anything. Just boom, we're going to send you your login credentials. You're going to get an email, welcome to Aviante. Your username is your email address, and then there literally is a bunch of characters that you can just copy and paste as your temporary password. Prompts you to save a permanent password, and then you're in. You have access at that point moving forward for as long as we do this for. So any participant that is under you and you're a time card approver for, like I said, you go into your active people working. Your active people working here, you can click on that button, or if you want to look at somebody that worked 2 years ago, I'm just guessing, I'm just picking somebody, you know, here's all of their, this is all of their completed times. Every single week they worked. And so what you can do is every week, this person, let's see, what is her name? This is Anilia Jackson. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. And so what you can do is you can say week 1, short 12, week 2, 32, week 3, 32, 4, 32, 5, 32, next is 8. So each week you can go, each individual, right here, each individual that's assigned under you, you can keep a running spreadsheet, okay? And then you can say, just keep adding those hours week by week by week, and it helps you calculate the maximum number of hours. Just as a reminder, it is up to y'all to notify us when somebody completes the program, quits, or gets terminated. So we need to know the reason, and we just need to know the last day they worked, so we know to close them out on that date. But that's it, guys. It's simple. So as soon as you send off that placement form and the job description, our team gets immediately contacts the employee, starts the onboarding process. Once all their paperwork is done, we notify you, they're ready to start, you give us a start date. The employee starts working. At that point, they're going to be submitting their own timesheets. The only thing you're responsible for is pulling those timesheets up each week, verifying that the timesheets are correct, and approving or rejecting. And then it helps you keep track of those total number of hours worked. Something else that we do as well is we send Commerce a weekly man-hour report, and that should be sent out to all the case managers in the regions, right?
No,
Oh, yeah, okay. That's it. Does anybody have any questions? Come on now, throw something at me.
You started.
Yeah.
How soon?
Alabama fans first.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
How soon should we be receiving the credentials?
Oh, do you have anybody that you're ready to start placing?
So I actually had some inquiries last year, and they're in school though, and so I guess because of the break or whatever, I'm waiting for them, the person that contacted me about getting that particular student in the work-based learning.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from them and get some more information.
Okay.
I did tell them to utilize the eligibility score, but she's from the Perry County School Board, Perry County, Alabama. And I asked her for a name, but she hadn't given me the name, so I don't even know who I'm supposed to be looking for. And I hadn't received anything from Commerce saying, you know, saying that someone is requesting to do work-based learning, so I'm not really sure. But I'm just asking because I have had several inquiries and I wouldn't have been able to do any of this.
Gotcha. Yeah, we definitely need to do this first. The question for you folks that are online, she was asking when will you be getting your login credentials to Aviante? Essentially, the exact answer to that is,
Once you send in your first placement.
once you send in your very first placement, this is not for each person, this is your very first one. As soon as we ask you for the start date, once they're finished onboarding, and we assign them to that job order that we have created in Aviante, the second those timesheet approvers get assigned in that job order, boom, your email notification for your login credentials will automatically be emailed to you. And so if everybody heard that right. So, and just so you know, once you do receive that, so the very first participant that you send to us, when you tell us the start date, keep an eye out for that email, because that link is only good for 24 hours. So if you don't log into Aviante within that time period, we just got to send you we got to send you a password reset email, just with an active link. So yeah, that's a good question, because people do ask me that all the time. What am I getting? What am I getting? So, any folks virtually, y'all got any questions? I do not see any.
I put the onboarding email address in the chat.
Great. Yep. And then also my contact information as well. So. Cool. All right. Well, if we're done, we're good, right? We're good. Any questions here in the class? Teacher. Joel. Attention. Cool. Okay. So.
All right, well, we'll take maybe like a 10-minute break and come back at 10:50 to do the next portion. Yeah, so see y'all in about 10 minutes.
Thank y'all. I was almost falling asleep on that drive up here yesterday.
At least the weather was better. All right, everybody who's virtual, we're gonna go ahead and get started again. First things first, we do have work-based learning guidelines, and they're available in the staff online resources. They were just updated in August of last year. So the supervisor guidelines and the work-based learning guidelines are all together in one document. So this can be used for y'all, you can give it to the supervisors at the work sites. It's got all the information that they'll need about work-based learning. And it's in the staff resources. So first off, the goal of work-based learning is to enhance the work readiness and the basic work skills through a structured work-based learning activities. So that means it's to help them improve their work readiness skills, enhance occupational skills through worksite introduction and job tasks, and help improve academic and those basic skills through relevant work experience. So make sure that whatever worksite you choose, that it's relevant to whatever their goals are on the ISS. Don't just stick them in a job because they want money or because the job wants somebody. The worksite wants somebody to fill that position. It should help the participant. It'd be relevant to what they want to do. So here at the Department of Commerce, we oversee the program management of work-based learning, and we ensure that y'all comply with the policies and deliver a quality product to them. We also oversee the operating instructions and allocate the budgets to the career centers and now the youth providers, and we're responsible for the fiscal management of it and providing any technical assistance you may have. So U.S. case managers are and VSRs will be the ones who will solicit and review work sites and participants. You're going to verify with Sirius about job assignments, just like Scott went over. If you have any questions about whether Sirius will cover that job, you can ask them directly. You will also be the ones to recruit any youth and determine eligibility, maintain participant records in Alabama Works. You're also going to help them with their career.
What are told we would not be deal with?
There are 3 of you in the state that do it a little bit different. This is for everyone, but y'all know what your job is. Okay? So the VSRs are a little different.
Okay.
You're also going to be the ones to verify the time and attendance and approve their timesheets and do their follow-up and make sure that you enter all their work-based learning information into Alabama Works. You're also the ones who can arrange the on-site visits to monitor the progress and make sure it's good worksite work. There are a few forms that are required for work-based learning that you will need to make sure are completed and uploaded. The first is the participant program information and guidelines. All of this is in here. It's this thing they sign saying, yes, I read that. There's a brochure as well. There's a training and evaluation form that's also in there that's front and back that you'll fill out. There's a work site agreement that you'll need for every work site. You just need it one time for the work site, but you're going to upload it with each participant that you place at that work site. And then there's the Sirius placement form that you're going to upload for us as well as send to Scott when you're ready to onboard someone. Once you have them on board and determine that they're going to be a participant, this is the service code that you're going to enter into Alabama Works, and the provider is going to be Sirius. For all your other services, it's you, but for work-based learning, it is Sirius. This is the worksite agreement. This is what it looks like. It needs to be completed, one for every worksite, not every single time you place somebody in it, just one for the worksite. Once they have it, they're good. They need to make sure they read it, sign it, and understand it, keep a copy of it, along with any of the documentation for time and attendance and evaluation, and then, like I said, complete one per participant, per work site, not per participant. This is also available on the staff resources as well. So they need to read it and understand it. All right. All participants should be interviewed by the worksite prior to their placement. You shouldn't just send them there and the first time they've ever seen or met any of those people is their first day of work. You need to make sure they understand the expectations and the standards for work-based learning. They need to follow the policies of the companies and the work-based learning policies. The work site is supposed to be supervising the participants and develop and sign the work-based learning agreement, and they need to do the the training and evaluation plan as well. And make sure that the work assignments are meaningful. So they go along with whatever their goals are on the ISS. I know I say this over and over again, but we see so many places in work-based learning that have absolutely nothing to do with the goals that they have in their long-term goals. The worksite also needs to understand how to manage teenage behavior. These are youth, so you kind of have to keep that in mind. And this should be their first job, so understand that they might have to work with them a little more than another employee. They need to make sure that they're supportive and positive, but if they're having a lot of issues with them, obviously they can let them go. They need to let you know they've done so. And they need to make sure they organize appropriate tasks and duties for them to help them grow. You're going to have to work with them because they are brand new. And then provide constructive feedback concerning their assignments so that they can actually learn something. They need to make sure that they're maintaining any documents that they need for the work-based learning assignment. Notify y'all as case managers if anything happens, like Scott said, if there's an injury or if they quit or they stop showing up or whatever they need to let you know. They need to know that they should let you know. And you can also help with training the new supervisor, making sure they have all the paperwork that's needed for work-based learning. They can also review the timesheets, or like I said, I'll show you a form that we have where they can just email you the hours that the participant worked, and you can confirm that that is what has been entered into Aviance before you approve. And this is what it looks like. It's kind of an autofill, so you should be able to put in the time and it calculates it for you. I think I put it in here. It's this one. The Excel version is in Staff Online Resources for y'all. You can access and use that. You don't have to upload this. You don't have to use this. If you want to confirm it another way, we're just trying to make it easier for you and for the work sites to just fill out a form just to make sure each week that the correct hours have been put in. So we have had issues in the past where youth have not been truthful on their time cards when entering them. So just make sure that what they're entering is actually the time that they worked. All right, so the work site should have an orientation. It's going to introduce the participants to the new staff and provide a description of the work and what's expected. They should demonstrate the task and make sure that they're supervising the trial when they try out the task. Should explain the safety rules, all the break times, work schedules, any rules, dress codes, all of that, and then provide emergency procedures just so that the participant understands everything that's expected of them when they're at the job site. And then they should also maintain any emergency contact information for the participant in their files. The work site should help to ensure that they don't work more than 32 hours a week and 390 hours total. If they do exceed these limits, if they go over the 32 or the 390, the work site would have to repay or us, WDD, they'll have to reimburse us for any overages. And also, if they keep doing that, they could be barred from receiving any WIOA funding. So it's important that they're paying attention and don't let the participants work more than they're supposed to, whether it's weekly or for the total, and then y'all also can help make sure the participant knows not to go over. Because if they're barred, they could not get any work-based learning or WIOA money for up to 2 years, or at least 2 years, wherever. These are some of the prohibited activities for work-based learning. Nepotism, please don't. We've had some issues recently with nepotism. Please don't let them hire their daughter or whatever. Any kind of political activities are prohibited, religious or anti-religious. We've had questions about, sometimes there's daycares at churches. Usually that's a separate, so as long as it says separate, they're not helping with the Sunday school class on Sunday. If they're doing a Monday through Friday and it's a legit like daycare, that's okay. If you have any questions about that, just ask us, and we will let you know, because we've seen a lot of that. We've seen a lot of questions about that. They shouldn't be expected to donate any of their wages. They shouldn't be expected to help with any kind of fundraising activities or anything like that. Any hazardous conditions, well, Sirius won't let you do that, so we won't either. They can't work more than 32 hours a week. They can't be expected to do that either. There can't be any kind of discrimination. I don't think any of these are very surprising, but participants shouldn't replace any other or reduce any other current employees' hours. And then if they're already employed by the work site, you can't place them in work-based learning at the same work site. If they're already employed, they probably don't need work-based learning right now anyway. Don't encourage them to quit school or quit their job to do work-based learning, please. When their assignment ends, you need to notify Sirius as soon as possible. We've had instances where Sirius didn't know, and the participant continued to work and complete their timesheets, and they were not supposed to be there anymore, and another person was approving because the current case manager left. Please don't, y'all. Just as soon as you know, let Scott know and he'll cut it off, and then we'll be able to do it anymore. Okay, so for disciplinary actions and terminations, make sure you're talking to your participants about what is the proper behavior and what's not. Make sure you're documenting any of these issues in your case notes. The work site should contact the case manager too if there's any kind of intervention needed, or if they do want to discontinue with a participant. And if they decide to terminate the participant, is deemed necessary by the work site, then let the case manager know. So you can let Sirius know, or if they need to just be placed someone else, if it just wasn't good for them. These are some of the grounds for termination, and the participant also needs to know these. If they're absent all the time or they can't follow instructions, the usual, obvious. They're learning, so sometimes you have to tell them. They might not already know this. So make sure that they know that they can get fired for these things, not just here, but a lot of other jobs would do the same thing. So when you are selecting your work site, you need to consider if they're under 18, that they're going to need one of these child labor certificates. They're $15, and you can get them at this website, or they may not already have a copy. We'll need one, and the Sirius is going to need one as well. So when you're selecting your work site, make sure it aligns with their career goals and interests, like I said before. Make sure they comply with any of the laws, and it's a meaningful training. It's not just a placement in a job so they can get paid for 390 hours. Yeah. Make sure it's something that aligns with their goals. Prior to making the final decision on the work site, you should probably schedule an on-site visit just to make sure they are what they say they are. And then the supervisor should meet with the participant as well to make sure they understand the expectations. And participants can't be placed in a work-based learning assignment if a member of their immediate family. That's, again, we talked about that. Don't do that, please. Okay, so worksite supervisors should utilize the training and evaluation plan, which is, I think it's a 2-page one. It goes over everything. The job description is on here as well. If it doesn't fit me, you can do just like with Scott's and just attach it. A lot of the information that's on the placement form is on here. You have the state ID number and all that, and then all the different things. But all they'll get to rate them. They'll review them at the beginning and then at the end, and make sure that this gets filled out and uploaded, please. Okay, so any work sites that are not compliant, work sites are not compliant. If they don't complete these evaluations, the case managers have to upload them, and they're required, so please do them. Make sure they're done. That's what it looks like. That's where you can put the worksite description, and it also goes for the serious placement form. Like I said, this is in, and it's also in the staff resources as well. Everything that you need is in there. So if you update the job description of the participants' duties, make sure that you let Sirius know that that's changed, and update it and make a case note and all that, and update it in the system now that it works. These are used to provide constructive feedback, and if they need that, especially if it's their first job, things that can be better. And the supervisor will conduct it at the midpoint and at the final. You have your beginning and your okay. Document and share the evaluation results with the participant and the case manager, and upload it in Alvin Works, like I said before, into the participant's documents. So for workers' comp, some of this is what he's already gone over. So Sirius provides that, and then you need to verify with Sirius of the job before you place them. There is this list of the common job placement list that they gave to us that's in the staff resources. So all of these they've done before, but if there's one that's not on here, you need to make sure you check with him before you place them. I know in one of the areas they had a job site that had horses, and that was not allowed. It was just kind of an odd, didn't seem like it was extremely dangerous, but they wouldn't cover it. So if you have anything kind of different, make sure you check with them first. Horses are not allowed. These are things they will not cover. Again, this is another list from them. All of these are not for these. So if you see it on there, you can go ahead and tell them no, or you can still ask them, but those are no. So for the training hours, they can work up to 390 total in 32 hours a week. They can work less than 32 hours a week, but they can't work any more. So if an employer wants them to work 40 and they just really, really want them to be 40 hours, then they can pay them for the other 8. The work sites need to make sure they have a thorough understanding of their responsibilities and what they're agreeing to, and that includes adhering to the maximum amount. So it should be, just because I couldn't keep up with their hours, like this is part of their work site agreement, they agreed to it.
Yes, I just saw this. So the youth are clocking in and out on the Sirius Alpha website.
They're just entering their time.
Well, entering their
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
okay. So if they do happen to work 40 hours, are they still putting that time on that worksheet?
Whatever
Or
they
is just paying for it?
Whatever is entered on that timesheet is what Sirius is going to pay. So they don't need, if the job site wants to pay for them to work more, then that needs to not be put on that.
So the youth needs to be told, do not put it on
We had an issue with that where they were entering it. It's like the job site, I said, oh no, I paid them. I'm like, no, then they got paid up. It was a mess. So yeah, whatever's entered on that timesheet is what Sirius is going to pay them. Okay, and then work sites can also be barred if they continue to allow participants to work more hours than they are supposed to. So Sirius is the payroll vendor. You complete the placement form. Like we already been over, they have automated timesheets and the payroll processes. They get paid weekly. This is the email address he was talking about, the onboarding email that you can send questions or the placement forms, and they answer very quickly. And I put it in the chat too for the Teams meeting. Participants have to submit their timesheets by Monday at 10 a.m. and the supervisors have to review them and confirm with the case manager so that they can be approved by Tuesday at 10 a.m. so that they can get paid on time on Friday, I believe. So work site supervisors and case managers will review for accuracy, and the case managers are going to be time approver, timesheet approver number 1, and whoever their supervisor is will be timesheet approver number 2, or whoever y'all decide is the best person to do that. Before you click approve and that's saying that their timesheet is correct, make sure all issues are resolved, because once you approve it, it's hard to unapprove it. Make sure it's correct before you hit approve, please. Participants can make between $7.25 and $19.66 an hour, depending on the job and the local area. And since we have multiple areas in the room, I'll send y'all the little chart that says the different areas, the different boards have agreed to different amounts. So, yeah.
I know that changed for OJT at Maximum, but it didn't change for work-based learning.
That is they did that a couple years ago.
Yeah. Because for OJT it went up.
No, it hasn't for work-based learning. The board voted on this. And it's different for each area. Most of them are the same, but a couple of them are different. Yeah. So I will send out the chart so y'all know for your area what the minimum and maximum are. Make sure the wages are comparable to the pay of the other employees in that same position. That's another reason why there's such a range. Because if you're working next to someone who's making $15 an hour and you can only make 10, and it's the same, that's not really fair. So that's why there's such a range. Make sure it's comparable in the same position. Weekly payments are made on Fridays. Participants are only paid for the hours they work. They're not paid for lunch or breaks or any of that. So, eligibility for work-based learning. If they're an eligible youth, that's good. There's just a couple more things, though, to do work-based learning. For in-school youth, high school students must be a current senior, not juniors, not sophomores. It's a senior. And then their report cards have to be recorded as MSGs if they're still like in high school for the seniors, and if they achieve a 2.0 or higher. So make sure that because work-based learning does not get any other kind of points.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But I had asked Tammy about that. She said that they need to be in the last semester of the senior.
Okay, sure. That's even better. If they have to be, yeah. So, okay.
Can you like just make sure?
In the guidelines, it says the high school senior. Because this is all of this PowerPoint is exactly what's in the guidelines.
Okay.
High school senior. They have to get their full eligibility. If they're in your youth program, they've already been through all of that, so you're good. But if they're not in a youth program, they have to get all of the full eligibility certification, all of that, just like any other youth. For assessments, for out-of-school youth and in school, if they don't have an assessment that shows their grade level, then they have to take the full TABE for reading and math. If they've already taken it with another agency, it can't be more than 6 months old. They also have to have the objective assessment and the ISS completed in Alabama Works. And basic skills deficient participants should be remediated before entering work-based learning. If they have a really low grade level, going and just sticking them in a job without remediating them is not very helpful. So that's why another reason why we're having the youth providers do a lot of this, because they already put that in their programs. So make sure that they're getting the help that they need. Don't just stick somebody who needs more help in work-based learning just to get the job. Make sure all documents and assessments and case notes are in Alabama Works. All right, so for the forms, these are the 4 main forms that you're going to need for all work-based learning participants. The series placement form, the worksite agreement, the training and evaluation plan, and participant requirements and expectations form. All of these need to be uploaded for every participant. So this is the placement form that Scott went over with y'all. This is the worksite agreement. This is the training and evaluation plan. This is the brochure that is It's the participant information and guidelines. It tells them everything they need to know about work-based learning, the safety guidelines, the grounds for termination, the payroll information, so they can take it with them, they can have it, you don't have to upload this, so they can't say, I didn't know that, you didn't tell me that, it's all right here. All little hand size, they can read it, just put in the phone number. Please don't upload it, I know what it looks like, they're not signing it, nobody's signing it, this is just for them to have. And then this is the form saying they saw it. Yay, I gave it to you. You said you seen? I gave it to you. You said you seen. Okay. This is the work-based learning report that you can send in monthly and to help you keep up with your hours, to make sure you don't go over. It is in the staff resource. Yes, it is. And if it's not, I will put it there and I will email it to y'all. But it's, when you enter the hours, see how it's red, that means they're gone over. It changes colors if you go over to the wrong amount, or if you're getting close to the hours, it turns orange, so you can easily keep up with everybody and who's doing what and all that. All in one place. That is it. Are there any questions? I feel like we went through a lot during Scott's presentation. Any questions or concerns or anything? Y'all can email, or you can email the youth email address, you can email me, you can email Scott, or Lavondra wants everybody to have her email address. Work-based learning monthly report.
I have a question.
Yes.
For my individuals that are at career centers with the contract that the companies must have on file, how long do those last? And would it behoove my staff to reach out to those that have established those connections previously to do so again for the WBL?
Yes, you can use the work sites that the career centers have previously used. We had someone ask us the other day, go ahead and get a new work site agreement for y'all for those previous work sites, and you can still use them, that's fine. If they have a list, they can send you the list of who they've worked with in the past and contact information, that's fine.
Okay, and how long do those forms last on file?
I wish Tracy were in here. She told me she didn't know that they did expire, but yeah, she just told me that to make sure, because now y'all are doing it, so just do a new one, and then it's good for ever, I guess, until they change their mind.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I'll have them reach out to those that were the youth in the career centers to send a list of established community connections for the WBL then.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have 2 previous work-based learning case managers in here from the career centers that would love to tell y'all how they do work-based learning. They're just so antsy and want to say things. So, Alicia Watson and Lavondra.
Come on.
Okay, so my name is Lavondra Thomas, and I'm a previous case manager. I worked at the Montgomery Career Center. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Okay. I worked at the Montgomery Career Center, and basically, my job as the WIA case manager was to go out and seek partnerships with different agencies that would be under the workman's comp guidelines, and basically inform them about the work-based learning program and how it could benefit them. With work-based learning, we always mentioned that it was a free labor program, but sometimes, you know, they may try to take advantage of it. But basically, again, I went out in the community to seek partnerships with different companies. I also went to job fairs. I went to community network events. I went to schools. I was a part of the career advisory council program through high schools. I was a part of career fairs at the high schools, different things like that. I made flyers, put out brochures to just anyone that may be interested in allowing individuals between 17 and 24 the opportunity to actually gain skills, training, and experience. So that was mostly what I did. And of course, I did case management. Once every individual came in that was interested in work-based learning, just basically provided them with case management, and then I placed them at the site and followed up with them about every 2 weeks just to see how everything is going, if there's any issues, any problems, are you liking your where you're placed at, you know, different things like that. And I also had communication with each supervisor as well to see how the individual is doing, you know, just to make sure that they're gaining the skills, training, and experience to basically better themselves. And then once they got to like the middle of that 390 hours, I basically reached out to the individuals to see what their next step is, if they wanted to transition to on-the-job training, or if they wanted to go to school, because we do provide up to 2-year training programs, you know, for individuals who are wanting to further their education. So that's what I did.
And I'm Alicia. I worked, when I worked in the Career Center, I was in Area 1, which is in North Alabama. And along with Lavondra said, by going to job fairs, different community events, just word of mouth or from other work-based learning work sites, if they knew of other businesses that may have been interested, we did talk to them. We did go out and kind of quote unquote interview that work site as well, because just like the participants have to be suitable for WIA, that work site also has to be suitable as well. We can't send a youth there and that work site is not providing what this participant or what the program is needing. Once I did, you know, the case management, the youth provider that I work with, if they refer participants over, they had already did the suitability for that participant. But for individuals that came into the Career Center, we also did suitability. Once they were deemed suitable, we also let that work site interview that participant, because what we get from interviewing that individual may be completely different from what that work site is looking for or is needing from that participant. And that work site would let us know, hey, we interviewed them, because we would let the participants set up their own interview. This is work experience, so you're gonna put in that effort, because when you get out of this program and find actual employment, you're gonna have to set up that time for you to go to do your interview. So we let them do that. And if the work site was like, hey, okay, we wanna move forward, then we continue the steps. If that work site was like, okay, I don't think this person may mesh well with us, okay, then it's, let's see what else works. Because you don't want to not have somewhere for them, but you also want to make sure that where they go they will give 110% where they are. Hopefully that work site will have open positions available, so when they finish, they can become a full-time employee with that work site. All work sites may not have that, but we wanted to make sure that if they did find employment there, that they could take those skills and go to another actual employer, or if they were going into training. We also, in that time that they were at the work site, we would go visit. We would pop up at the work site to make sure that you said you are providing and teaching these skills to this participant. Okay, well, we're gonna see. Because you say that, but we're responsible for these participants that are there. So we wanna make sure you are doing what you say you're doing. So we would pop up in between those 390 hours, just to see how things were going. We were always there for the participant. You know, if they had a problem, you know, we would be, you know, the mediator person in between to say, okay, let's get this done. Let's make sure, you know, are you gonna finish? If you're not gonna finish, you know, kind of what's going on, what's the reason? To make sure that they can get what they need, and that youth provider that they were with, or through the Career Center, that we could help them do everything that they were needing to do for their next step. Sorry, I did a lot of stuff. This is just a little bit. What else? I don't know.
They can transition if they work out at the work site and do the 390 hours and the employer want to keep them. They can transition to an OJT.
Yeah, they can transition to an OJT.
Or the employer will get another maybe 440 hours and half of its wages back.
Or you may run into, they may not want to do on-the-job training, and they may just want to flat out hire. Yeah, so it's just different ways.
They may want to do work-based learning at the end of like an ITA. So if they're towards the end of a nursing, you may find a hospital or somewhere where they can do work-based learning at the end to kind of roll them into a job right after their ITA, and maybe an OJT as well. All right, well, I think we have talked all that we feel like talking today. Thank y'all for coming, and thank y'all everyone who has attended virtually. If you have any questions, let me know, and I hope y'all enroll lots of people in work-based learning. Have a good day.
Go for it, people. I know.